so it's me, Kiani. Today's video is going to be on my most requested video of the week. Why do I bake in some areas and why do I set my face in other areas? This technique that I've kind of come up with has been derived from months and months and months of not being completely satisfied with the end result of my makeup. Whereas a lot of the videos that I showed you guys in the past have been on new techniques that I learned. But of course, when I learn how to do something a little bit better, you guys know I'm going to come to you. And I did mention this in one of my last videos, why I bake in some areas and why I set in other areas. And it's just mainly because I want to get the best end result at the end of the day. So I'll show you how I set my face. I'll also show you why I'm no longer baking underneath my eye area and the zones that I really don't mind going in and baking, honey, just to get that contour, honey, setting. So without further ado, if you want to see the areas of my face that I think yes to setting and the areas that I say no to baking, just keep on watching. So I've already prepped my skin with my traditional Estee Lauder skincare products. Make sure you stay tuned because I am going to be releasing my fall skincare routine day and night. But for now, I'm going to start with my BenNye Media Pro HD palette. And I'm going to mix between this orange shade and this cream shade right here. And I'm just going to use this method to do a little bit of color correcting. I'm starting this video with color correcting because this is how I apply my makeup on a daily basis. And this is part of my concealing technique. And now for foundation, I'm going to grab my Estee Lauder. This is the Double Wear Nude Cushion Stick Radiant Makeup. The shade that I'll be putting on is 5W1 Bronze. I'm going to twist the product up like this, get me a good amount, and just distribute it across the face. I've been loving this foundation recently because it gives me such a beautiful natural finish. And if you notice how I am just packing the foundation right over top of the color corrector, because it's going to take some of that orange tinge out, but at the same time with me tapping it with the brush, it's going to keep me from having to use too much concealer, but just the right amount. But it's going to make my concealer not work as hard, so therefore I won't have to use such an extreme baking method to get that area very, very nice and bright. So it definitely starts with the foundation and the color correcting. Next, you guessed it, I'm going to grab my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. The shade that I'm using is Tan. I'm going to put a good amount of concealer on, and I can actually do that because this concealer has brightening ability. It's long wearing, it sets really, really nice, and it doesn't enhance any fine lines and wrinkles. So it really does hit all the qualifiers for me, considering a good concealer. So if you haven't tried this concealer, I raved over it over and over and over. There's a review on my channel on how I apply it, which you're seeing it now, but this concealer is off the chain. I'm not going to grab a beauty blender. I'm going to grab one of my crown brushes. This is a flat synthetic brush, but I love this head of this brush because it is flat but rounded as well, so you can really, really get a good packing the way you would with a beauty blender. Best part, I don't have to get up to wet it, and just it allows me with this brush, it allows me to go in and pack this concealer on and not have to worry about adding too much more in the end. Of course, I'm going to add more, but it allows me to really go in and set this concealer and not enhance any of my fine lines. So I'm going to see if I can zoom in. If you apply your concealer in the right manner, it will fill in the fine lines. You're really wanting to lay that concealer as flat as you can possibly get it, so therefore you can set it and not have to worry about over enhancing with a powder. Again, I do have tiny fine lines, and as the day progresses, if I put too much powder around there, it starts to go the opposite. So who cares about it being set if you're all crinkly looking? You know what I'm saying? So you can see how beautifully smooth this concealer is laying. Can you see it? Oh my, it is insane. saying, and I can see the fine lines, but they're pretty bearable. It's not like they're saying, hey girl, you got a concealer on. It blended in really, really nice. I'm going to go in just for those of you that are like me, that are really OCD about that area being bright. So notice I'm doing all the work before I get to the powder. So if I'm thinking that I want a little bit more brightness, I'm doing that with the concealer. Every product that I apply is wet, it's damp. It allows me to form that along with the skin. Once you go in with the powder, you are starting the setting process. And if you're going in and baking underneath the eye area with a heavy, heavy powder and you haven't smoothed out your foundation, what is going to happen? You're going to set in lines. So notice I'm tapping it out. Getting it as light as I possibly can, leaving the amount of coverage that I would want there, and just continuously packing. Blending it out. No harsh lines, no lines of demarcation. Blend, blend, blend. Keep tap, tap, tapping. Now it's showtime. I'm going to grab my Kett Cosmetics. This is my colorless powder. I have talked about this several times on my channel, and this has been seriously one of my favorite finds for 2016. I'm going to grab my MAC 159 brush. This is probably my favorite. I'm not going to say that. This is one of my favorite ways to set my under eye concealer. I'm going to grab that and load this brush out. I'm going to grab this powder, load this brush up, but I'm going to tap off any excess. I'm going to grab my close-up mirror, and I am going to stretch my face and set underneath the eye area. Can you see how flawless that is? Now I am going to go against every fiber in my being, and I am going to bake underneath the eye area this time and show you guys kind of the difference in how I can influence texture. Like, I hate to do it, but just for the sake of the video, you know, I'm going to do it for you guys. So I'm just going to grab my Morphe. This is my G8 brush, and I'm going to load this brush up with powder as well. And I'm going to set this on and bake. I don't know if you can see it, but that powder is not as smooth as this side. And because I know some of you are wanting me to really take this 2 steps further, I'm going to grab an oldie but goodie, my BenNye banana powder, and I'm going to grab me a good old sponge wedge, loading it up. I'm going to just set this here because I know some of you are still doing this. Okay, let's just let it. Now, I'm all about grabbing me a contour highlight palette. I love to contour and highlight with powders. I'm going to show you where I like to contour. So I'm going to grab this darker shade right here, and I'm going to create me a nice chiseledness. Light and blended. Okay. Going to blend around my forehead. On this side, I am going to grab a little bit of this cream powder here using another crown brush, and I'm going to do a light cleanup. Not necessarily a bake. I'm going to do a little bit right here on my chin as well. Same shade. And this is starting to come together. I'm going to go right in the middle of my forehead because these are areas I don't mind projecting. Nice and smooth. Because I know some of you are true bakeaholics. I'm going to do a contour. Same way I did on this side. No, you know, I'm going to blend it out just a little bit, but I'm just trying to give you guys the idea of what I know some of you are doing and why I don't think it works the best for me anymore. And I'm just going to press this in. Now, what I will say, if I am going to bake, this is really the only area that I'm going to do it, because it does allow that chiselness, but this is giving me a soft area appearance, and this is definitely going to give me a much harsher effect. Okay, so now I'm just going to let this magic set. I'm going to give this time to bake in and settle, and I'm going to give this time just to continue to look nice and pretty. Alright guys, so I am back. I've taken the time to create a wing, and you know what? A certain part of me feels like the wing won. But I am going to remove off this excess powder. Obviously on this side I haven't done anything, so I'm just going to grab my powder brush and I'm going to lightly dust off the setting powder. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm going to try to again zoom in, but this side right here, no lie, is looking really, really dry. It's looking really old and really, really tired. So it's totally giving me the opposite effect of what baking should do. Because this tissue, I don't need it to be dehydrated, and that's really what the powder has done. So not necessarily is it not going to give me brightness when I create a flash or a picture, but I need my skin to look equally as nice in real life as it does with a flash, because hello, we're not walking around with a filter nor a flash. I am my filter. Okay, now as far as me baking along the chiseledness of my cheeks, I don't really mind that as much, because I typically go back with a little bit of a different type finishing powder. For now, I'm going to grab my Estee Lauder. This is the Perfectionist powder. It's a very, very, very smooth setting powder. It doesn't have talc in it, and it just gives you a beautiful finish. The shade that I'm using is medium. So this is really how I typically finish the look. And you can see this area is a little bit more setting, so I don't mind my cheeks being a little bit more projected, but I do like the smoothness and the evenness of finish of this powder and what it looks like if I don't bake. So why bake? I am, for the sake of the video, going to add a little bit of blush, because I typically do that as well right on the tips of my cheeks. Just give that cheek just a little bit of highlight. So in the event you've done all this and you realize that that area is just too dehydrated, I'm just going to grab my Myricks spray. I like to use the NYX. You know what? I will grab my NYX. This is the Dewy Finish Long Lasting Setting Spray. And just going to grab that and hit underneath the eye area here, just to kind of make it look a little less cakey. So I'm hoping I explained in thorough detail why I bake in some areas and why I set in others. Be sure to comment down below if there are any other questions that I can address in this manner. Make sure you give this video 2 thumbs up. Comment. Follow me on all my social media. Here are the links right here. Subscribe to my channel before you leave. Until next time, guys, thanks so much for watching. Hugs and kisses. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.